Right now, it's Saturday morning, and I'm about to leave here to go brew some beer. That's right, I'm going out to Old Ox Brewery with some buddies from Nova Homebrew. I'm brewing a 15-gallon batch of a West Coast Pilsner. It's going to go on tap for their American Craft Beer Week. Well, thanks a lot for stopping by Cascades Homebrew. My name is Brent. So that's right, today I'm going out to Old Ox Brewery to brew a 15-gallon batch of my kind of West Coast Pilsner. Originally, it started what I thought was like a cold pale ale. It's a nice, light and refreshing hoppy beer. It's got mostly a Pilsner base, using 3470 lager yeast, fermented kind of cool ale temperatures, but there's a lot of hops in it. So I brewed a couple batches of that. The guys at the club really liked it. They said, hey Brent, you need to brew that beer for the American Craft Beer Week. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to be able to get as far as like footage or at least some pictures of the brew day. But I want to do a quick introduction, talk about the recipe. So the grain bill for this one, it's about 95% Pilsner and then about 5% of a light Munich malt. So I went ahead and bought the grain all pre-crushed. I didn't have to, but I did measure it out. And that came out to 27 pounds of Pilsner and then 1.5 pounds of the Munich. I've got a couple water additions in there just to manage the pH. And then bring up the sulfite, add a little gypsum, bring up the sulfite a little bit. So that's it for the grain bill, just the Pilsner and then 5% Munich. As far as the hops on this one, so I'm not quite sure. I'm using a different system. I'm not quite sure how to calculate the IBUs at the late additions. So originally when I brewed it, I had a little bit of Warrior at the start of the bill. So for this one, just based on the system and watching it one day out there brewing, there's a lot of time, the whirlpool, and then running it through a plate chiller that I think we're going to get a lot of bitterness from those late additions. So when I brewed it the first time, I had some Warrior at the start of the boil. This time, I scrapped that, and I hope that works out okay. So again, no hops at the beginning of the boil. So the first addition in the boil is going to be with 10 minutes left. So we got 1.5 ounce of Idaho 7, hopefully give about 12 IBUs. Also adding in some yeast nutrient and Werflock tablets. And then at flame out, we've got our first big addition of hops. It really kind of looks big when you're looking 15-gallon batches. We got 3 ounces each of Idaho 7, Amarillo, and Citra. So in theory, it goes 14, 10, 13 IBUs, so a good chunk of bitterness. Hopefully will come from that little late addition and help balance it out. I figure worst case, it's a little less bitter. People like less bitter hoppy beers anyways. The fermentation for this one, same as the other, this time just 3 packs of 3470. I'm going to try to ferment it around 62 degrees Fahrenheit. And then for the dry hop, we know they have another big charge. Same amounts, again 3 ounces each of Amarillo, Citra, and Idaho 7. It's not a combo that I've used before, but I've used all those hops and it sounds really good. So as far as the specs on this, again, I'm brewing with somebody else's system. I'm not quite sure where I can work out the efficiency. I'm talking a 75% efficiency. I think the one time I was out there, maybe the guy was brewing a Bock, got a little higher, but I'm not quite sure. The guy who owns the system said 75% is a good target efficiency. So we're going with that. So that grain bill should give us about a 1048 original gravity. Somewhere around 50 IBUs is what I calculated, which again, hopefully it could be higher, it could be a lot lower, but if it comes out at 30 IBUs, that's fine as well. Really light colored, less than 4 SRM. Estimated final gravity, 1010, I think that sounds about right. That would give us an ABV of 5.0%, which sounds like a great, nice, hoppy, refreshing beer to have on tap. All right, well, I need to get some breakfast, and then I need to get going. I measured out all my needed grain and hops for the recipe, and I collected them up along with any miscellaneous equipment I thought I might need for the brew day. So I loaded all those into my car. Then it was off to the brewery. Old Ox is about a 10-minute drive from my house. The springtime here in Virginia is usually an incredible season, and this year was nice too. Early blooming cherry trees and bulbs were past, but there was still plenty in bloom right now, like the red buds and some apple trees. Maybe not so pretty is the crazy proliferation of data centers here in Loudoun County. Here are some centers. They're fairly new. They have this weird fake office building look to them. They just kind of look abandoned. So here's another pair of buildings. These ones just stuck with a massive concrete block look. So I also passed right by the Washington Redskins, or the Commanders, practice field. Then I turned left at another set of data centers. Turn right at what looks to be a data center under construction. and then I turned right at a more stylish looking data center before arriving here at Old Ox Brewery. Hey look, some pretty redbud trees in full bloom. Luckily, from this view, you can't see the massive new electrical towers being constructed, likely to provide power to all those data centers. I was a little too busy with the brewing process to capture much video, but here's the system on brew day. It's a propane-fired system from Ruby Street Brewing. It's called their Fusion 25 system. It has 3 25-gallon kettles, along with a sophisticated controller, a couple pumps, lots of hoses. It's really a nice system. Here are the 3 vessels in action. The first, the hot liquor tank, also with a Herms coil. The second is the mash tun, here during the sparge process. The third is the boil kettle, collecting the wort. The propane burners on the system are pretty powerful. It's capable of a vigorous boil, even with nearly 20 gallons of wort. The wort was chilled with a pair of counterflow chillers and then transferred into a 60-liter Speedel fermenter. I then pitched 3 packs of W3470. I came in pretty much right on my target gravity. Here I measured 1049, just 1 point above my target. I came back 3 days later and added my dry hops. I didn't get any video of that process, but here's the fermenter working away. There was a nice krausen on the beer when I added the dry hops. Looks like right now the chamber is at 59 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius. After 18 days in the fermenter, I was able to schedule time to come out and transfer the beer into a keg. I think this is where I made a mistake. When we get to the tasting, well, I could tell the beer was oxidized. It looked oxidized and tasted a bit oxidized. We used this long tubing for the transfer. I did not take any steps to purge out oxygen from the line. So this long tube full of oxygen was pushed right into the keg. It crossed my mind at the time, but I didn't think it'd be a big issue. Maybe there was some other source of oxidation, but for me, this was a good lesson that avoiding cold site oxidation is important, especially with hoppy beers. But at this point, the beer looks good, and my numbers look good too. My original gravity, 1049, attenuation, 81%, measured a final gravity of 1009, which gave me an ABV of 5.3%. So at this point, it's time to move the keg into cold storage to carbonate it and age it for about a month before it's being served on tap at the brewery. So it's Saturday, May 20th, and my beer is on tap at Old Ox Brewery today for American Craft Beer Week. So I had an event in Fairfax this morning, so I get to travel one of the more typical DC Metro highways, Route 66 out to Route 28 past Dulles Airport. Luckily, it's just past afternoon on Saturday, and traffic is pretty light. But when I start to see some data centers, I know I'm getting close. Well, here we are, Old Ox Brewery for the big day. Oh, I'm excited. Oh, there it is. There's my beer up on the tap list. It really was a fun event. I enjoyed the other Nova Homebrew beers on tap that week, and I really appreciate the support from Old Ox Brewery. Well, welcome. So today is Tuesday. So it was Saturday that the beer went on tap. So I have a growler here that I brought home. I want to go ahead and get it cracked open, give it a taste while it's still reasonably fresh. So I got to drink all this up tonight, huh? So before I crack the beer open, I want to say thanks a lot to the Old Ox crew. I think it was great for them to let us come in there, brew some beers, get them on tap. They've been a great support to Nova Homebrew and other homebrew clubs over the years, so thanks a lot, Old Ox. It's a great brewery. If you're ever in Northern Virginia, I highly recommend you stop by there. So I'm hoping, while I still have some daylight hours, I can get out of the basement, do the tasting up here. So the other thing I wanted to say was I really enjoyed kind of that group session brewing. I've only done 2, maybe 3 brews with people, and usually it was one person at my house, me at somebody else's house, kind of a group thing where I was working on my own thing. So I did one day out when I went out, Mark was brewing his beer, so I got to hang out, see the system at work. And then I got to brew my beer. So it was really great. I had the experience. It's a great system. And I really think in the future, I'm going to look forward for more opportunities, especially when you can do those large batches where potentially you could split them up. So what about that Ruby Street brewing system that Carl has? Well, it's pretty awesome. When you start getting into multi-$1,000 brewing systems like that, it's really more about a hobby, So say $5,000 on brewing equipment. Well, what kind of an RV can you buy for $5,000? What kind of boat can you buy for $5,000? What kind of vacation can you go on for $5,000? So it was definitely a really nice system, easy to use, probably a little bit more, work setting it up, cleaning, tearing it down, maintenance than I would like, especially compared to like my 2.5 gallon batches on the stove. But hopefully I'll have some chance to brew again with Carl and the gang on that system. All right, well, let's crack open the beer. There it is. So I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing. It definitely has, I think it's gotten worse. Probably the growler. It definitely has that oxidized purplish look. We'll come back to that. Let's just quick. It's got a nice aroma. You know, I can't really complain, you know, about the aroma. It's got some hop aroma. You know, if I didn't know that maybe it was a little oxidized, I would say the hop aroma is fine. The hop flavor, you know, I'm starting to, like, it's definitely not as crisp and clean as like some of the batches I made. I think the overall recipe, that, you know, Pilsner, a little bit of Munich, I think that was fine. I think the hop selection was fine. The Citra, Idaho 7, the Amarillo, I think that's a good combination. So I think overall it's a good beer. You can definitely just really kind of purplish gray color from oxidation. So my thoughts on the oxidation was I'm pretty sure when I was doing the transfer from the fermenter, you know, down into the keg, there was that great big long line that we used because we hadn't wanted gravity to get that thing going. At the time, you know, and that line wasn't purged. At the time, it kind of occurred to me, but I didn't really see an easy way to purge it. You know, the guys I was there, I didn't really bring it up, but they didn't seem to think it was a big issue. And I kind of was like, well, you know, it's a large batch. It's going to be stored cold. Oxidation won't be a big issue. It's going to go on tap pretty soon. Clearly it was, but I'm definitely disappointed with kind of the way it looks, the way it tastes. So when I saw people coming away from the bar with a glass, it just says, oh, you know, that's just not how it's supposed to look. So if you ever had a kind of light colored beer, hoppy beer, I think it really reinforces me. Sometimes I think maybe I'm just a little bit too anal, too much like worried about like cold side oxidation. I think this one shows that it doesn't take a lot. In this case, probably just like a tubing. It was a pretty long tube, so there's probably a reasonable amount of oxygen in there. But that, you know, going right into the keg and then not having a real good way to purge it out of there, it can really cause some damage. So maybe I'm not that crazy about how this batch turned out. I have another collaboration with a local brewery, Dynasty Brewing Company. So my homebrew club, the Warthogs, this is our 30-year anniversary collab. So we're going to do another similar batch, this time doing it on the professional system. I really suspect that one's going to turn out really nice. So today is Tuesday, that one's going to tap Thursday. So I'm going to hope to try to get some video of that one, kind of come up with a second video, follow this one up. So if you want interested in that video, if you're interested in more information about especially brewing like some hoppy pilsners, brewing hoppy beers, I love brewing hoppy beers, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Stick around and cheers.